Hi, my name is Tyre Shivers, and today I'm going to be discussing home ownership, owning versus renting a home. First, we're going to cover some of the common myths surrounding home ownership. It's cheaper to rent than to own. You need to have a large down payment. You must have perfect credit. All lenders are the same. Let's first tackle it's cheaper to rent. And I've heard this, and I know many people have heard this before, that it's actually cheaper to rent. You don't have to worry about the down payments, you don't have to worry about all the maintenance costs. But in many areas, like where I am in Baltimore City, it's actually cheaper to own than it is to rent because rental prices they keep going up and they increase year after year. So now a lot of people are paying rent when they could be paying a mortgage that would be cheaper. So while the upfront cost of owning a home are more significant, if you live in that home or plan to live in that home for 5 years or more, then it makes sense to actually purchase because you actually come out cheaper. Renting doesn't allow you to take any tax deductions, such as property taxes, mortgage insurance, or other expenses that can be deducted. And depending on the city and state, rental prices can be more or the same as actually owning a property. As a renter, you do have other fees, such as maintenance fees, renter's insurance, and you're always looking at that higher rent cost of rising rents year after year. A large down payment. In the past, when you wanted to purchase a home, you would need 20% or more for your down payment. And that just put home ownership out of reach for a lot of Americans. So the FHA stepped in and said, you know what, we'll allow as low as 3.5% down if your credit score is 580 or more. And today, many lenders and other loan programs exist that will accept a lower payment than 20%. I am a veteran, so I know with VA loans, you can get in some properties with zero down. I know banks that offer zero down and 100% financing. So you just have to find that loan program that will accept lower than the 20%. But don't let the 20% stop you from your home ownership. Be aware though that if you put less than 20% down, in some cases you may be responsible to pay what's called a PMI or private mortgage insurance. And then that'll be added to your mortgage. And it's just a extra cost that protects the lender in case you default and don't pay the loan. Perfect credit. 800 is the highest credit score that you can get. It's been said that great credit or perfect is anywhere from 720 starting or 740 plus. Now, if you have a 720, 740 plus, of course, you're going to have a lower interest rate on the loan, but it is not required to get a loan. We mentioned FHA loans earlier. They can go as low as 500. But if you go that low, if your credit score is 500, you will be required to pay 10% or more. And then most lenders, they like to sit around a 620. So that's average. So if you have a 620 plus credit score, you're meeting the benchmark for a lot of lenders. Again, this just shows you that you don't have to have perfect credit to be a homeowner. And I am a property manager. A lot of tenants that I deal with, that's one of the big things with them. They say, well, my credit's not good enough to purchase a home. And I'm like, actually, it is. And you may be able to come out cheaper by owning. All lenders are the same. So, of course, when you go to each lender, they're going to pull your credit if you get that far in the process. But what you want to do first is submit an application and be able to detail kind of your debt, your income, and then if you have any cash reserves on hand. Ask them, what programs am I eligible for? If you know your credit score or have a round guess, you can keep them from running it at that time and just say, hey, I really don't want my credit run. I just want to know what programs that you may have that are fit for me, because different lenders have different programs in different areas of different cities. They have different grants, different loans. If you're a firefighter, if you're a police officer, veterans, nurses, I know many different professional jobs or careers have different loans that may suit them, especially if you're living around a hospital. They may have grants for nurses. So you need to think about and just ask the question. Many times people just say, well, all lenders are the same. They're going to give you the same loan. It doesn't make a difference, but it makes a huge difference for you. And also remember, ask your lender, and they're probably going to want to run the credit check at this point, but ask them for that pre-approval letter. The pre-approval letter will show how much house you can afford or your buying power. And you will need that when you start talking with real estate agents and when you get more serious about purchasing the home. Now let's discuss the buying process. The buying process, while it can be lengthy, it is very simple if you just follow the steps. To start the buying process, you could take the following steps. These are not set in stone. I'm a licensed realtor, so I've been through it many times. And this is kind of the guide that I give my clients in to buying and to just make the process. It's a stressful process. It's long, but it can be simple if you just follow some key steps. One, I always recommend contact a local realtor or real estate agent. Why? They know the market. They can help you, or they may have contacts to preferred lenders. They may know home inspectors, and they can help guide you just through the entire process. Most sellers who are selling a home, they're already engaged with a real estate agent and they're paying a commission to that agent. Now, what happens is that commission gets split between the selling agent and the buying agent. So, as a buyer, your buyer's agent is already being paid and you shouldn't have to come out of pocket. Now, there are some other agreements that may happen, and if there's a fee, it will be told or disclosed to you up front. Also, keep in mind the seller's agent is the seller's agent. Their duty is to the seller. They may or may not help you or represent you well. And if they do help you, they're going to most likely get another agent from their team to represent you because their duty is to the seller. So I recommend you get your own agent. That way their duty is to you and they'll take care of you through that process. Again, realtors normally have many contacts. So if you don't know a lender or if you don't have a preferred bank, you can ask an agent. Who do you normally refer your clients to? And then they'll get you there. Also, real estate agents and realtors have access to their local multiple listing services or systems. This is just a huge database of all the available homes in the area, what those homes have been bought and sold for, so they can give you a general idea of how much you may be looking to purchase or spend on a home in a specific area. As you go through the buying process, now you have your agent. They're searching the areas that you want to be in for a home that fits. You start communicating with the lender. You really get serious when you get that approval letter. And in order to get a pre-approval letter, you're going to have to do their application. You're going to have your credit check. You're going to have to provide some information on your debt so they can calculate your debt to income ratio. And then they're going to probably ask you for tax returns, bank statements, pay stubs, or any other proof of income, just so they can make sure that you're a qualified buyer. Now, with that approval letter, it will tell you up to how much you can spend on a home. Do you have to spend that whole amount? No, but it will at least let you know what your buying power is. Now, with that, your agent knows that you're serious. So they're going to be looking for your home. And you're going to be in contact with your lender because they're going to be pulling together paperwork, making sure that the process goes smoothly and to get ahead of any potential issues. In other videos, they're going to cover debt, they're going to cover credit repair, and strategies to make you a stronger buyer. So to make sure your debt to income ratio is low, to make sure you're saving money, to make sure that your credit score is in order. We won't cover those here, but just be on the lookout for that. Now, you find a home that you like. You love this home, you want it, you can afford it. You put in an offer. And an offer is just a document of how much you are willing to pay for the home. And it has all other kind of clauses in there that are usually governed by the local real estate board and the state. And it protects you and the seller. And so that your agent then draws up a contract with your offer price. You put in when you want to close, if you want to choose a title company, if you have any inspection contingencies, which means, okay, I will buy this property, but I want to inspect it. I want to make sure that it's good to go. I want to make sure there are no damages or lingering issues. So that's what happens during the inspection period. After you put in that offer with all of your contingencies, everything wrapped up in it, the seller will take some time to review it. They may get other offers on the same property. But let's say that you're lucky today and they choose and accept your offer. Now you're on the process to head to closing. You'll complete your inspection. Everything goes well. Lenders take a long time at times to go through that whole closing process and putting your package together. So you might want to set your closing date in the contract at least 30 to 45 days out, just to make sure all the paperwork comes in and is clear. Once your lender has completed all the paperwork, they're going to say that you're clear to close. They're going to wire the money to the title company on the day of closing. The seller gets the check, you get the keys. Congratulations, you're a homeowner. What costs should you expect with this? As a renter, if you're renting a property, you know, or you're most familiar with, you got to have first month's rent and a down payment. So if rent's $1,000 and you want to take over on the first, you're gonna have to have $2,000. 1,000 for the first month's rent, 1,000 for the security deposit. Usually that's it. However, when you're purchasing a home, you're going to have more cost. You're going to have the down payment necessary to own the home. So if you get an FHA loan, 3.5%. If your credit score is lower than that 580, it may be 10%. There may be 15% from another lender, or you may have 20 or 25%. The more money you can put down, the lower your loan will be, and the less interest will be calculated on top of that, and just the less you pay over time. So if you can put down more, great. If you're in need of that 3.5, 5, 10% loan, just know it's available to you. So you'll need a down payment. You will also need what is called reserves, cash reserves. Now, what are cash reserves? Cash reserves are usually 3 to 4 months of mortgage payments. And they want you to have that in case you lose your job, something unfortunate happens, anything like that. So just so you can be able to cover the loan for enough time to get back on your feet. That's usually what cash reserves cover. Then you're going to need closing costs. Closing costs can be anywhere from 2 to 3%, maybe more, depending on the purchase price of the home. So closing costs covers your lending fees, prorated taxes, property taxes, prorated interest, HOA fees or dues if they're due. Like for instance, when I purchased my home, I had to pay the HOA fees for a year up front. Homeowners insurance, other things like that, lender's fees. So those are closing costs. Now, you may be able to negotiate with the seller and have them pay some of those costs down for you. They may be able to pay all your closing costs. It's often seen with new construction that if you purchase a new home and they build it, sometimes they will cover all the closing costs for you. If not, you can try to negotiate and get a certain amount credited to you towards your closing costs. So those are the things that you want to consider and the cost to expect. You'll likely have to pay out of pocket for your home inspection and your appraisal. And what happens is, as the lender collects all of these fees, they will give you what's called a alter or lending statement that say, hey, this is the cash you need to close, the amount of money you need to bring to the table. That will be all the costs associated that you need to bring in order to close. And after that, of course, you have the ongoing maintenance fees and the cost of actually owning a home. And we're talking about now you're responsible for everything: your HVAC, your washer and dryer, your water heater, dishwasher, plumbing, roof, ongoing maintenance costs. So just things that break down over time due to normal wear and tear. Good thing about that is you may be able to write some of those things off on your taxes. Of course, you need to get with a CPA to see what deductions are allowed or not allowed. In closing, home ownership is possible and definitely, for sure, can be cheaper than renting. It all depends on your area, your mortgage amount, interest. We didn't talk about term of loans, but normally you get a 30-year or you can get a 20-year, but we didn't get that deep. But depending on the length of your loan, you may actually be able to get into a home that you own less than you rent. And I see it all the time because owners who buy investment properties, they buy them, they fix them up, and then they rent them out. Now, what they're covering with those costs are, just want you to think about it and have an idea. They're covering the amount of money that they purchased the house for. They're covering the renovation costs. They're putting aside money for profit. They're putting aside money or budgeting, let's say budgeting for profit, maintenance, vacancy. They're also thinking about, okay, how can I raise the rent next year when their insurance goes up? So you're paying all these costs as a renter in your rent over time. Now, when you own your home, you pay similar costs, but now you get to get the deductions. See, as a renter, you don't get to deduct property tax, mortgage interest, any of that. Also, as a renter, you don't get to benefit from the appreciation and equity buildup of the home. So we're not going to go too deep in it because this is just an overview. This is just letting you know that you can buy a home for just as much as paying rent on a home. But let's talk about real quick the equity and appreciation. Appreciation is when a home increases in value over time. So in great areas, you may see appreciation of 2 to 3% a year. So if a home is 100,000 one year, you may appreciate $2,000 and it'd be 102,000 is the value next year. Now, equity is that appreciation plus as you pay the loan down, you have that equity in the home. So for instance, if the home costs you $100,000, it appreciates $10,000 the next year. So now the home is valued at $110,000. If you pay down your mortgage on time, let's say you paid $10,000 down in 1 year. So now your loan balance is 90,000, but the home's value is 110,000. That is $20,000 in equity that you get in the home. What can you do with equity? You can borrow against it. So if you have an emergency, if you want to do upgrades, you could take out a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, and you can use that money. Of course, yes, you have to pay it back, but the interest rates oftentimes are much cheaper. And speaking of interest rates, now is a great time to buy because interest rates are low, very low. The Fed's keeping the interest rates down, so that gets translated through the banks. And in the future, interest rates may go up. We don't know. But now is the time to purchase. It's a great time, and you can do it. Think long term when deciding whether or not purchasing a home is right for you. Again, if you're not going to be in the house a long period of time and you're not considering using it as an investment property or a rental, then maybe purchasing is not right for you right now. But if you decide that, hey, this is my forever home, I'm going to be in this area for 10 years plus, purchasing a home will probably be your best bet because then you actually own it. You get to take advantage of the tax breaks, the appreciation, and that equity buildup. If you're renting and both, just say your mortgage is 2,000 and your rent is 2,000. Over time, you're paying a house down if you own it, that 2,000 a month, build up equity, get that appreciation. But if you're paying that 2,000 in rent, think about this, your rent may go up to 2,050 next year, 2,100, 2,150. Slight increases, your mortgage isn't going to increase. But as a renter, you won't get any of those tax breaks, any of that equity, any of that appreciation. You are actually helping the person who owns the house have a great investment property. So just think long term. Think about, is home owning right for you and your situation at this time? And just know that we covered the myths, we covered how much it takes to buy a home, and it's very doable. It is possible. We didn't go deep into everything that's involved. We didn't talk about paying over how much time and how much your mortgage might be and all those calculations, because this is just an overview, just to show you that home ownership is possible. And personally, I recommend it. I've rented apartments and then I moved into purchase homes because I understand that by having that ownership, it's something that I can pass down. It's something that I can get value from. You can't pass your rental property down, but you can pass down your home. If you choose to move and keep that property as an investment, you'll own it and you'll still get all those tax breaks and everything like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the team who's going to be posting this video for you. I hope that it was informative, and I hope that it really makes you think about whether or not purchasing a home is right for you. Thank you.